When challenging times arrive, your garden becomes a lifeline for your family's nutrition and peace of mind. Growing the right crops means the difference between abundance and scarcity. Here are the 15 most reliable calorie-dense and nutrient-rich crops that anchor food security. Potatoes, the foundation. A single potato plant yields 10 to 20 pounds of food with about 165 calories per medium potato. Store them in darkness at 45 to 50 degrees for months without special processing. They grow in poor soil, require minimal inputs, and produce across diverse climates. Plant in early spring for late summer harvest. Sweet potatoes contain 103 calories per potato plus beta-carotene, potassium, and vitamin C. They thrive in warmer climates with well-draining soil. Store for months between 55 and 77 degrees. A single slip produces multiple roots, making this investment efficient. Beans are, well, an amazing source of protein storage. Dry beans can be stored pretty much indefinitely without any special processing. They're actually the only plant-based crop that does this. Each cooked cup has about 15 grams of protein, which is honestly quite impressive. If you're short on space, pole beans are a great choice since they yield more in limited areas. Varieties like black turtle, pinto, and kidney beans can be stored for years without losing their quality. And just to give you an idea, a 100 square foot patch could provide enough beans to last an entire year. Corn is, truly a high-calorie staple. When you're growing corn for storage, you'll want to focus on dry kernels rather than sweet corn for fresh eating. Each plant usually gives you 2 to 3 ears. Once dried, the kernels can be stored indefinitely, and you can use them for flour, popping, or even rehydration. For best results, plant your corn in rows about 8 inches apart and keep the soil consistently moist. Open pollinated varieties like Hickory King are especially good if you're planning to dry your harvest. Cabbage really is a storage champion. A single head typically weighs between 3 and 5 pounds. If you dedicate a 50 square foot patch, you can expect to harvest 15 to 20 heads, which will store for months in a root cellar. You can also ferment cabbage into sauerkraut, which not only extends its shelf life but also adds healthy probiotics. It's best to plant cabbage in early spring and then again in midsummer for a steady supply. Kale and collards are some of the best greens you can grow year-round. These cold-hardy plants keep producing even through light freezes and snow. They're packed with calcium, iron, vitamins A and C, plus a bunch of phytonutrients. You know, cold temperatures actually make their leaves taste sweeter after a frost. With just a handful of plants, you'll have vitamin-rich greens for months, and you won't even need to replant. Carrots are, honestly, a storage superstar and a vitamin powerhouse. They store beautifully in cool, humid conditions and are loaded with essential vitamin A. You can plant them from spring through midsummer for a steady harvest. And here's a tip: layer your harvested carrots in damp sand, and they'll last for months. Oh, and beta-carotene, that key nutrient, actually becomes more available when carrots are cooked. Turnips and rutabagas really give you double value in the garden. Both the roots and the greens are completely edible and super nutritious. The roots store well in cool conditions, while the greens give you a fresh vegetable option. They mature in about 45 to 60 days, so you can get in multiple plantings. Plus, they're cold hardy, making them a great choice for late fall and early winter growing. Onions and garlic are, honestly, essential foundations for any home garden. Onions can store for 6 months or even longer when they're dried and stored properly. They provide sulfur compounds and quercetin, both of which have some pretty impressive antimicrobial properties. Garlic, on the other hand, contains allicin, which has well-documented benefits for immune support. Fresh garlic stores for about 6 to 8 months. For best results, plant garlic cloves in the fall and harvest them in early summer. Now, let's talk about Jerusalem artichokes, sometimes called sunchokes. These are true perennials, meaning they return every year with basically zero effort. Once you plant them, they just keep coming back reliably for years, and really they need minimal maintenance. The tubers deliver 76 calories per 100 grams and are packed with inulin, a prebiotic that helps support your gut bacteria. And, unlike potatoes, you don't need to replant them every year. Winter squash, like butternut delicata and acorn, are just fantastic for versatile storage. These varieties can store for months without any special treatment at all. A single plant can produce multiple fruits, each weighing several pounds. Just remember to plant after the last frost in rich soil. When the skin hardens, that's your cue to harvest, and then you can store them at 50 to 60 degrees for a long-lasting supply. Tomatoes, beets, and grains. These are some of the real workhorses of a resilient garden. Tomatoes, for example, can be enjoyed fresh or preserved through canning or drying, which is pretty handy. Determinate varieties, in particular, will concentrate their fruit, making them ideal for preservation. Beets are great too, since they provide both tasty roots and nutritious greens, both of which have demonstrated antioxidants. And then you've got grains like quinoa and amaranth. These are drought-tolerant, packed with complete proteins, and once dried, they can be stored pretty much indefinitely. Building resilience is really about creating food security by developing a diverse system of complementary plants that are well suited to your climate. It's a good idea to invest in soil building through composting and, whenever you can, save seeds from your most successful plants. Your garden, honestly, represents independence and the power to nourish your family through just about any circumstance. Start with crops that appeal to you, take the time to learn them deeply, and then expand from there. Subscribe and share. Subscribe to Living Soil Garden YouTube for in-depth growing guides, soil building strategies, and preservation techniques. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. Share this guide with fellow gardeners who are building food security. Together, we're creating a movement toward greater independence and healthier living through growing our own food.